Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 54-year-old Brett Favre. That's right, you heard that right.
It's picked off.
He's picked off!
Got hurt on the play, injured.
Oh my god, if Brett Favre is injured on the play. No, say it ain't so. 54-year-old Brett Favre. Hey everyone, Richie here. Thanks for joining me. And just doing a video preface here because, yeah, I didn't expect this video to be as long as it was. I had to do some edits and cuts, and I wanted to say, if you're here for the simulation part, I'm going to drop timestamps for you. Because in the beginning, what I do is I go over the career mode briefly, give an introduction to that, and I plan on doing a more in-depth video about specific career mode options later. But I really touched on how to set up the career mode, the off seasons, and if you're interested in that, just watch the whole video, and it's going to be a combination of that plus simming into the future. And hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, let me know. And here we go. But for this video specifically, the purpose is to check progression in career mode, just to give you an idea on how that works. And before we start, you know, one thing I was thinking about is if I get another dog, I think I might name it Joe Flacco, because if it runs away, I know it'll always come back home. Tisk tisk. Sorry, Browns fans. But who am I kidding? Ravens blew a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter this Sunday, so that's why I'm repping my Packers here today. After all, I am a Green Bay Packers owner, if you didn't know. Got the documentation to prove it right here, too. Check that out. Alright, all jokes aside, let's get right into this. And what I got with me is my handy dandy notepad. So we're going to go ahead here and track the players. Let me see if this captures my cursor here, make that a little better. Okay, perfect. So we're going to go ahead and track just a few quarterbacks. And I'm going to add to this list too, because we're going to track some rookies once they're drafted. And these are the team overalls for every team from the 2007 season, and that's what I'm going to base this on. Let me move this over here. Let's get this started. I'm going to go ahead and go into career mode. I'm going to, like I said, briefly touch on career mode and the options we have here. Going to go ahead and start a new career. When you do that, you are brought up with the list of all the years and leagues that you have. And if you downloaded everyone like me, you can see the modders did a fantastic job. They have like every season ready to go for you. So we're going to use the 2007 season. And in my last video, this is the same year league season that I used. And what I said in that video, why I liked 2007, is because it's easy to conceptualize what a good team is versus a non-good team. I'm going to pull my notepad up here again. So obviously in 2007, that's when the Patriots went 16-0. You can see they had the highest overall as an 80. The next highest, I believe, is Dallas here. Remember, they were the number 1 seed in the NFC. They went 13-3, and they got upset by the Giants. So we're going to keep track of that as we go. So when you start up career mode here, this is the first page you're brought to. You can change whatever year you want. You can literally type that in if you want it to just be in the future. We'll just keep it at 07. And what it'll do, no matter what year it is, it'll just +1 each time. And that's going to be set in place after your first year, so make sure you put it to what you want. You can't edit that later on. League name, you can edit that to whatever league you want. For our purposes here, we're going to name this Super Bowl 1 for easy tracking. And we're always going to name this, we're just going to name this Super Bowl Dome, just to make it easy and generic for now. But you can edit this stuff, obviously. Primary team, this is just going to be the team that shows up on the first page. You can edit this at any time of the season. We're going to go back to the schedule. You can also set and control every team if you'd like, or you can let the computer do it, and you can change this at any time and step in for any team at any time. So we're going to go ahead, we're just going to roll with the Packers here. The next page that's brought up, season options and phases. This is about the off season. And so the first option you see here is about players retiring. And don't get the wrong impression. This, if you leave this unchecked, it doesn't mean that players will not disappear, or in other words, it's not like if you leave it unchecked, a player is going to be in the league for like 50 years. No, players are going to be taken out of the league in different ways. When they don't make the roster and they're cut, they're gone for good. And if a player becomes a free agent and they don't get picked up, then they're gone for good. So, like I said, I will do a more in-depth video about the career mode because there are a lot of, it's quote-unquote simplified in this game in Pro Strategy Football, but there are ways to do a lot of workarounds to get things that people want in more deep franchise modes. And like one of the biggest things I see is like people are like, oh, a Pro Strategy Football doesn't have trades, I'm never going to play that game. And then first just makes me like facepalm myself because it's like, are you really not going to play a football game because it doesn't have one option? Like, come on, not every game's perfect. You just got to weigh your options for one game against the other, or just play this game for one particular reason or another, and then play another game for another purpose. But I think if you play this game, where it shines is on its on-field action, no doubt about it. If you enjoy this game a lot for its on-field action, but then you're like, oh, it's just lacking the career options, I just feel like there's ways around it. For example, there's no free agents per se. There's no trades per se. But you can do all that stuff by exporting and editing outside of the career. And like I said, I'll touch on that later in a whole separate video. But for now, I'm just touching on the basics. And we are going to allow players to retire. And what this will do is mimic early retirements or career-ending injuries, or in some cases like Ricky Williams wanting to become a monk or something. Just use whatever headcanon you want for why a 28-year-old might retire if he's good. But I'll just click that to give you an idea of what players actually retire. So the next thing's scouting for the new draft players coming in. And if you click it, it'll show you their overall from the get-go. So we'll just keep that off. Free agencies, like I was talking about, there's no free agency period, but what there is instead is a draft. So you can change the order of it, and we're gonna mimic it where the good teams get the first picks. Like typically in the NFL, a better team's got a better shot at getting a free agent. And you can set between 2 to 5 free agents, and that's not the exact number each team is going to have in the offseason become a free agent, each player become a free agent. It's going to be an approximate value. So if you wanted to mimic more movement in your league, you would set it at 5. It could be a team has 5 free agents, they could have 8, they could have 3. It's just an approximate. And the cool thing is you can change these settings every single season. So if you do it 5 in the beginning, you're like, oh man, too many players moved. The next year, just do 2. And each team gets to franchise tag 1 player. So if you set it at 2 and every team has 2 free agents, they'll be able to franchise 1, and it's going to make your league have less movement in the off season. And again, just to reiterate, this is just default settings. You can edit and move players at your will, to do your own kind of free agents, trades, all that good stuff. Personally, I like the simplicity of it. I don't think, especially for this game, you need to go super in-depth with this stuff, with financials. Set up your own salary cap. Don't like that there's no trades. Trade your own players. Don't like how the computer's drafting. Set it all to human. Draft how you want. Don't like that the new draftees, overalls are in the 90s already. Edit the ratings. You got the ability to do all this stuff. But I digress. Let's continue. This is going to be the championship folder. You can set that to whatever year you want thanks to the great modders. It's going to do 07. You got all this cool stuff. You can change the goalpost locations. Set sleeves. If you're playing old-time leagues, you can set the face mask. All these great options that really define that this game is a sandbox game among all else. So you're thrown in this football sandbox. You can set your rules however you want. You can set fields up however you want. Set your players up, your uniforms, logos, how many teams you want in the league, all this great stuff. So the playbooks, they're defaulted to what kind of playbooks they'd actually be running in that year. So right now, we're in the year 2007. They're set at this particular standard. Like, for example, you weren't really going to see people run the wishbone in 2007. But if you want your teams to do that, you could certainly click that. And it would set it for every team if you wanted to, or even just certain teams. Same for the defenses there. Just I'll keep that up if you want to pause it and take a look what the game offers for that. This is where you can edit the teams. So you can scroll through, you can click on any team you want. You think Tom Brady should be a 99. You think 97 is too low for him. Go right on in, you can change his age, all this good stuff. Every little attribute here is editable. My advice would be trust in the modders. They know what they're doing. They didn't just do this on a whim overnight. This is years of work and testing. These guys are awesome, and it's all free. Lastly, we got a few more things. You can set your image folders, all this stuff. I will go ahead and put some raw Madden. Got some custom commentators here. And these are just custom names for new players that come in and stuff. They'll grab from like a list. You can edit all that stuff too. Alright, let's get back to the first page here. This is where we can set our rules. It's going to be defaulted to what the year 2007 was, but like I said, you can change all this stuff. So if you were like doing an 80s league, it'd be set for you already, but if you wanted to just if you wanted to do a league back in the early 80s or 70s where the NFL didn't have 2-point conversions yet, it would be set to no. You could be like, oh, that was a stupid decision. They should have implemented the 2-point conversion from the AFL. The AFL had it. When they merged, they took away the 2-point conversion. I want to play the 70s, but I want to be able to go for 2. You could turn that on, or vice versa, for whatever reason. If you didn't like the coin flip, sudden death, overtime rules, God bless you, but you could change it if you wanted to, if you liked college better. All that cool stuff. Me, I preferred the sudden death overtime. But the game changes, so you can change it to however you want. And that's this is very important and an overlooked feature because, like, a lot of people that I watch and read and stuff, when they talk about franchise mode, they always talk about how good the old Maddens and ESPN 2Ks were on PS2 and Xbox. And people still update those rosters today. They update the players, the teams, the uniforms, all that good stuff. Even like on Madden 08 on PC. But they are limited to a point where they can't change the kickoff locations. They can't add extra teams in the schedule. They can't have like 17-game seasons. They can't add extra teams to the playoffs. So at some point, you're going to hit limitations. with these older games, right? So you can edit it and update it so much, but when it comes to the rules and all that good stuff, Pro Strategy Football excels in that category. So with all that said, going to go ahead and load the schedule up here. You got to do this before each season. And the modders, they got every schedule up until present. We'll just go ahead and select that 2007 schedule. You can change these at your will. Do your own schedules. Make your own schedules if you want. Same with the playoffs. You can do manual. You can do the 2020 format. But we're just going to do how they used to do it back in 07. And finally, with all that said, 15 minutes. We are starting our season, and we are beginning the first part of the sim process, because, like I said, we're going to go off and do the all-season stuff, just so you can get a little taste of that. So once you start up, you got your week 1 here. There's no preseason. Again, workarounds to that I'll discuss in another video. But you can check all this stuff here, the depth charts, if you want to edit. Again, you can edit any team you want at any time. We got Brett Favre starting, and we'll keep an eye, like I said, on the ratings and stuff. Got my notepad here. See how that all progresses. Got the standings, season leaders. We haven't played any games. But let's just sim this, because I'd be remiss to do a game and not show a little bit of footage. Let me just gonna try to change the settings here really quick. The sound settings. That should be good. And actually, since we're watching highlights, I'm gonna go back and change my commentator team to the Chris Berman one that I did. Oh, well, it just spoiled it for me. We know who won this game. The Packers won. And one cool thing you can do is back up your season at any point. I'm going to go ahead and back that up at week 1.
Incomplete.
So Mason Crosby should be an easy give me field goal.
The kick is up. It's good.
And you can click out of this at any time. You can skip the highlights if you want. You can watch them with slow. No, there was a fumble. Let's just watch that. Watching it slow is what I was trying to do there.
Catch.
Carrying the ball 20 times a game.
Did he really fumble it all the way there?
The water bug and whippet-backs rarely survive.
Alright, but there you go. Anyway, there's some highlights. I don't want to spend too much time on that here, but again, got to show the on-field footage in this game. See if we can find a snow game later in Lambeau, possibly. But I was simulating super easy.
His method is not Grand Prix, but
With the click of the button, you can have the whole season simulated just like that. And for this first year, we'll go ahead and take a look at the team standings. So the Giants really performed well this time. They went 15-1. That's crazy. If you recall from when I did this, the 2007 season video where I was comparing the Patriots going 16-0 versus the Giants winning the Super Bowl, the Giants weren't winning their division a whole lot, so Man, the Colts went 15-1 too. Setting up for a possible Manning versus Manning Super Bowl. We'll go ahead and see if that happens. Let's just go ahead and simulate the playoffs here. Oh, so the Packers made it. Shut out the Cowboys. Look at that. In Lambeau. And you can see all the stats, all this good stuff, the highlights, got everything. Oh, there's Black Punt. Watch that.
No elbow. It's blocked. It's a safety.
So one cool thing about Pro Strategy Football is the way it simulates. It simulates the same if you simulate it like we did, where we just click the button and hit simulate. And also it simulates the game the same whether you're watching it or playing it or coaching it. Well, coaching, you don't actually play the game, obviously. You coach it. But if you're in the game, it simulates the results the same way. So, for example, in Madden, even in the older games, let's go back to that. In Madden, if you simulated a game, just pure simulated, you could look at the stats and look at the box scores, and you might actually see that somebody blocked a punt. But I guarantee if you ever watch a game, you would never ever see a blocked punt in the actual game. And that's where Pro Strategy Football is cool, because it's going to simulate. You're going to watch games and you're going to see block punts in the game. Alright, so there's the first season. And we're going to just walk through the off season here. Now, the first thing that you do in the off season is it's going to show you players that progressed. So you can take a look and pause if you want to read that. It's going to put an asterisk next to every player whose ratings have altered and changed one way or the other. So we're going to go ahead here, and I'm going to pull out my notepad. Because as you can see, Brett Favre, he decreased from a 90 to an 88. Aaron Rodgers, he increased to a 79 overall. And real quick, what I would do is go look at the other players they got here. So like Brady, he went down from a 97 to a 95. We'll take a look at Peyton. He went from a 78 to a 75. And Drew Brees, he actually increased from an 81 to an 83. I'll flash the notepad just so you can get a look at the visual there. Alright, so you're probably wondering how progression works. You're probably thinking, hey, wait a minute. The Colts, they went 15-1. Peyton Manning, he probably had an awesome season. Well, let's take a look. So here is good old Peyton. And he threw 35 touchdowns, 14 picks, had 4,700 pass yards, and an awesome QB rating. Man, some killer quarterback ratings there. Tom Brady killed it. He had 80% completion percentage. Wow. So, and he decreased. So, Pro Strategy Football, its progression works based on age. Simply put. And if you don't like that, like I said, you can edit all the players' ratings. So now we're gonna go. We kept track of who we needed to. Let's go to the next phase, shall we? So here you can scout, and it's basically just going to give you a preview of some people who are going to become free agents, just to give you an idea. But remember, they can be franchise tagged. So really, this scouting needs to happen later in the process. So we're going to skip this. And now we're in scouting for the rookie draft, and you can back out to the main menu at any point, and it will tell you where you're at too. Or you can simulate each little section, and that's like our checklist here. So we are scouting rookies. Again, all this stuff on its base is simple, and it can be as in-depth as you want it. You just have to put in the effort. You can edit. What you can do is edit the draft class here and start editing people's names and all that stuff if you want to do it outside the game in Excel. All that is available to you. That's what I love about this game. It's as in-depth or as simple as you want it to be. So here we are at the scouting, and what this will do is it's just really easy. You just click on a person. You have a max of 20 people you can scout, and it's going to put everybody in order. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why would I need to scout Larson if he's on the first section here and he's going to have the highest overall? As I'll show you here. And we'll just do the next guy just so I can show you. That's one reason why. Because the first guy has got a killer overall, but the second dude doesn't. So you're not going to have a good kind of reference point until you start scouting people. And then, even though Larson, this quarterback here, Ian Larson from Midwest City College, which you can edit all this stuff to make it an actual real college, although I'm sure that exists somewhere. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why would I scout anybody if I just knew that Ian Larson and Sam Ahmed and Ernest Tillman, they're the best guys because they're number one. Well, just remember, the computer's going to be drafting too. So if you waste if you don't want to scout those guys and they're gone, then once you get later in the draft, you're not going to know really who you want to draft at that point. You're not going to know their overalls. Just for fun, let's just see the top people's overalls here. Take a look at some linebackers and defense. So the defense, this is a heavy defensive class, it looks like, draft class. Dang, this guy's a 90. Corey Borden, 21 years old too. So there you go, that's how the scouting works. It'll give you the different stats there. Bunch of good stuff, and it shows you your current players. Alright, so we're done that. Now it's going to ask us who we want to franchise. And whenever you click on a team, it shows you who's becoming a free agent and what positions. And you could literally go through this and do this for every team if you want, or you could just do your own. So I'm just going to simply hit franchise, and now it tells you. Go ahead and automate the computer teams.
Pro football is a game.
And you can kind of see how they did.
It's for win or lose, not life or death.
And some teams didn't do any. So for most of them, they did pretty well in who they kept. As you can see, a lot of high overall people that were otherwise going to become free agents. Like Troy Polamalu, for example. Alright, so now we're done the franchise tags. We're in the free agency draft. And remember, it's going to be the opposite of the rookie draft. So, the Patriots won the Super Bowl, they get first dibs at the free agents. And they picked this dude, Justin Bannon, who was with the Ravens, 94 overall. So yeah, you can see all the players here, and you can click on someone. It'll show their stats and everything. Or if you want to check out their history, you can do that by checking their player card. It's pretty cool. All the information they got. So we're pretty good with our offensive linemen. And you can just do flat out and check all the players that are available and their position. However, it still shows people who have otherwise been franchise tagged, like Ben Utek. I'm pretty sure that he was franchised. But we're gonna go ahead. Who's Donald? This isn't the... I don't know why I'm taking so long. I'm just gonna pick someone. Alright, anyway, we're just gonna automate the rest of this. This will give you an idea of, like, kind of who the computer would pick. And again, you can just take control of everybody and do this yourself, too. Alright, so now we're at the draft. And I think I mentioned that you could trade draft picks, which I think you could do in prior games. It's not in this game right now as I'm playing. So again, no trading. That's actually in the game. Stay tuned for that video where I will go in depth to explain workarounds that you can do. And to me, just to go on the trading rant one last time. This isn't baseball. There's not trades like every second of the day. There are trades in the NFL, but you can pretty much count on your hand how many impactful trades there are. Now, it's been more recent as of recent, the past few years, but anyway, nevertheless. Also, when it comes to financials, there wasn't always a salary cap either, so that's one thing to keep in mind if you're playing older leagues, older seasons from like the 70s, 80s, early 90s. There wasn't salary caps, there weren't free agents. That's pretty unique to the NFL, how it's been lately. But anyway, let's go through with the draft. And this is kind of like ESPN 2K5-ish, where there was a glitch in that game where the computer teams would only draft like 4 positions. And in Pro Strategy Football in the first round, it's kind of the same. The difference is you can actually edit people in this game. You couldn't do that in ESPN. So you'll see they're taking a lot of defensive linemen and linebackers. So very defensive heavy. Waiting to see if that quarterback gets picked, because we're going to keep our eye on the quarterback. Oh, I accidentally, I simulated my pick. Oh, that quarterback got picked. There he is, Ian Larson. Going to pull up our notepad, because we're going to keep tabs on good old Ian Larson here.
Lombardi. A certain magic still lingers in the very name. It speaks.
That's weird. It says his overall is 38. I'm going to take this off. 38. That doesn't make sense. I'm sure it's going to update. Alright, we got the next QB who was picked, Ronnie Dow by the Jets. So the AFC East getting involved with their quarterback picks. let's see what overall they put for this dude. 44. Oh, okay, here we go. I don't know what that... Oh, I see. He was drafted 2nd round, 44th overall. Completely was misinterpreting that number. Oh, and it tells you the overall right here. Let me get that out of the way. So yeah, it actually tells you the overall once they're picked. Can't believe I missed that, but anyway. Let's just keep going. So yeah, the computer doesn't draft good. So luckily you have the option to control all 32 teams and pick who they would otherwise pick. I'm going to go in here and we're going to do a pick. Remember we drafted, or scouted the dude named Ahmed. We'll go ahead and pick him. And I'm going to add him to the list. Alright, now I'm just going to simulate the rest of the draft. Alright, so this is one of the most important screens in Pro Strategy Football because whoever gets cut is gone from the league. So immediately what you can see is on the screen, the rookie running back, actually all the rookies, because we haven't reordered the depth chart, are set to be cut, and it tells you that in parentheses. And once they're cut, they're gone. So the first thing we're going to do is automate, and that is essentially how it reorders the depth chart. And at this point, you can't click on anyone yet. So we're just going through checking our depth chart here. And again, when we hit the automate, it just reordered it anyway, so really what you want to do is just check to see who's going to get cut. That way, in case it's somebody you don't want to lose. Because eventually Brett Favre's going to drop down, he's going to get cut. So we're going to keep our eye out on good old Brett Favre and see how long he can last in this NFL. I'm going to go ahead and automate this for everyone. And you can look at any team. And again, it lets you edit all this stuff whenever you want. Alright, so we finished that part. Now we are in preseason team drills. Again, just to reiterate, you can back out at this at any time. And so this is kind of cool. What they do is you can check all the team attributes here. And so our defense, we don't cause a lot of fumbles. We're great at stopping big plays. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract our defense stopping big plays by 1, but it's not an automatic. Basically, there's a 50% chance it'll actually decrease, but there's a 50% chance it'll stay the same. And there's a 50% chance, because of that, our caused fumbles will increase by 1 point. Now, of course, there's a 50% chance that that won't happen. So, long story short, there's a 25% chance that we're going to get the result we want, which is defensive stop big plays stays high at 9. And because we risk that, we get another point added to defense caused fumbles. Hit apply and let's see. So it stayed the same basically. So we won the first part. Defensive stop big plays stayed at 9. Defensive caused fumbles, we didn't win that 50%. It had a 50% chance to increase. It didn't. it had a 50% chance to stay the same, and that's what happened.
Leads alone on an open
And because of that, I'm done. Because I hit apply, I'm done. And you can do it. Risk as many points as you want there. Or if you didn't want to do that and you didn't agree with the numbers that were listed, you could just edit it yourself. So now next is preseason team drills. Actually, just went through that. Should be the player. Yeah, player mini camps now.
and there's poetry in each season.
Very simple. You get 3 players you want to train, and it's gonna
Winds whisper
add some points to them
in the skies. A season
randomly.
with
And so we trained Aaron Rodgers. His medium passes increased.
joins with many
Thus,
on
his
summer's
overall
green
increased.
field. Time to strive, to dare, for all not to yield.
Oh, interesting. So for our rookie running back, Ahmed, his pass blocking increased. And Jennings' receiving went up. So that was a big boost for him. Alright, and then we are done the off season. So, alright. Pretty quick, simple. Hope you enjoyed the off season there. Now we're gonna do this actual simming part. So we're gonna continue to enter our settings. We're just gonna increase the Super Bowl each time. And remember, like I said, oh, you know what? I didn't even check that. I didn't check the players who retired, but don't worry, we'll be able to go back and look. I'm gonna turn that off now, though. I'm just gonna leave all that the same every single year. So I can go in, now that we're in the year 2008, I can literally select the 2008 schedule. Pretty neat how we can do that because of the modders. And we are ready to go. And again, once you click all done, you can't go back and you can't edit players. You can only do that before the season starts. So if I thought the rookies were drafted too high, I can go in and edit and kind of lower their overalls and stuff like that. But we're not. We're gonna see how it plays out. And so I got the remember, I got the team overalls up, but we're gonna track this every 5 years. Otherwise, I'll just be sitting here typing all day. But just for fun, just real quick, let's just check out Minnesota and Green Bay's. So right on this screen, it tells us. So Green Bay 78, we stayed the same. Minnesota, they were 68 last year. They increased to 71, so they should be a little bit of a better team. Nevertheless, we're just going to go ahead and simulate the whole freaking season. Oh wow, Giants beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. So there you go, there's the Super Bowl. Oh, and you know what, I forgot to check those retired players. But have no fear, we can just go back. To our season transactions, and we can click retired, and so Jason Witten, he retired at age 25. And so that's what I was talking about. If you have that retired optional, and young players can retire, so maybe Jason Witten had a career-ending injury, sadly. Poor guy. So that definitely took a hit on the Cowboys. And you can just see some other names and stuff there. Dallas Clark, he retired pretty young. So the tight ends, they were leaving the league. And you can see our nice little helmets here for the Super Bowl. One of the coolest parts of the game, just seeing all these helmets, all these neat logos and everything lined up. It tells you who the leader of the league was passing via rating and rush yards. And wow, LT LaDainian Thompson just went off. Wow. Jericho Cotchery went off receiving yards. That's two incredible record-breaking stats there. Wow. So you can see all that stuff, and what's cool is what you can do is you can simulate each season in full. And if you're like, wow, I don't think LT should be getting whatever. Let's see, check how many carries he got. Probably like 400 if I had to guess. Yeah, 412 rushes LT got. If you're like, what, LT or any running back shouldn't be getting 400 carries, which has happened a handful of times in history. But if you had a problem with that, you could literally just go into the coaching game plan options. And as you can see, obviously, San Diego favors running, and that's why LT have 412 carries. You could go through and change that to your desire. You can make them just more balanced, or if you wanted LT to even crush that record, do heavy running. But anyway, the modders do this for a reason. They set it at a default. Sometimes the guys just go off. Average 5.4 yards a carry. That's incredible. And we'll take a look at the player cards here, just to give you an idea. This is so cool how they do this. They got the guy's photo that they added in that you can edit yourself. Whole bunch of stuff. And this is so cool that it tracks postseason. So cool. And I love how it shows you the records and everything too. Alright, but like I said, we're here to simulate. I'm just going to keep my eye on Brett Favre, really. Oh my god, is Tom Brady a free agent? They're going to franchise him though, I think. Oh, that Larson guy. Dang, he increased from an 86 to a 90, and he's a free agent already. Let's see who the franchise here. I kind of want to click Brady to have him franchise and stay in New England for a little bit longer. On the other hand, I am kind of curious to see how the computer plays this. And you got to think Larson, that dude's going to be franchised.
All of them are fearless. All of them are strong, quick, and all of them are part of a story that began long ago. A story written by men who found...
Yeah, as predicted, they do pretty good with who they're going to franchise tag. Just go ahead and simulate the draft there. And so Aaron Rodgers, he's starting in 2009. There we go. Alright, so we simmed it. We're back here again at the starting screen. Gonna keep all this the same. Now we're in 2009. We're gonna pick that schedule. We're gonna keep the playoffs the same. We can change any of this stuff whenever we want. For each season, we can edit players, just to keep reiterating all this good stuff. We're gonna go ahead and simulate the season. So it's funny, it takes longer to set up the season than it does to simulate it. Always funny to think about. Boom, just like that. Alright, Aaron Rodgers. Looks like you got the Packers in the playoffs first year, starting. Wow, the Chargers, what a crazy looking Super Bowl. 15-13. Ooh, wow. Dallas was a wild card, too. Alright, we're just gonna keep just chucking straight away with the off-season. We'll go back and take a look at all this good stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead and simulate that stuff there. So like I said, I'm keeping my eye on finalizing the roster because I want to see how far that Favre can make it. Let me just do this here. Alright, look at that. We're already on year 4. Pick the 2010 schedule because that's the year we're on now. And so what I'll do is I'll simulate this season, go through the off season, simulate season 5. Update my notepad, and then from there I'm gonna simulate 5 seasons and keep track and I'll do cuts, that way it's just not me sitting here simulating through stuff. Packers are just kind of killing it. Wow. This was the year Green Bay won the Super Bowl too, actually. But instead, it was the Super Bowl that happened 1 year after. But the Patriots won. So Patriots and Giants kind of dominating. See, the Browns actually made it to the divisional round. And the Packers lost 9-7. That's crazy. Dang, Brett Favre, 42. He's really taking a hit now. Let's go through all this stuff here. Alright, so what I did was reorder my depth chart by automating it, and Brett Favre, he would be cut, but we were going to keep him. He would be cut and gone for good, but I want to see how far he's going to stay in. So once you hit that button again, it re-automates everything. Just gonna go through, check our teams here. Manning, Breeze, Brady, they're all hanging around still. Alright, there we go. So it took about an hour to get to our 5th season here, but that was with me explaining everything. Then we're going to sim it, and we're going to check out the team overalls at the next part. Alright, let's see who did it. Who won Super Bowl 5? Ooh, Pittsburgh. And they beat the Giants. Packers haven't been able to get out of the wild card round. So we do this one more year, then I'm gonna just get to the week 1, I'll be able to check the ratings. Simulate the draft here. And Favre, they're trying to cut him again, but we're going to save him. Alright, there we go. We are ready for the next season. Time is flying before our eyes. And every time you do a new season, it's going to make me check the career off-season options, like the guys retiring and all that good stuff. So I like that it does that, just in case you forget to change something. Alright, here we go. Now we can... I'm going to pull up that notepad again, and we will be able to update team overalls and kind of see how everybody did. So I'm going to go through and do this. I think I'll cut the video, and then I'll come back here. Then we can kind of compare. Alright guys, I'm back. I went through each team, edited them in my notepad so we can take a look at the progression here. And so I guess we'll start off and say the Patriots, they started with an 80 overall, which is the highest, and they stayed the same at 80. Believe it or not, even though this was the 2007 season that I started with, and the Miami Dolphins clearly were the worst team that year, record-wise, they went 1-15. Believe it or not, the Raiders actually had the worst starting overall team rating. So the Dolphins were 56, but the Raiders actually were 55. And the Raiders, they increased from 55 to 60. And you can see the results on the screen. And this is after 5 years. And kind of I guess the overall picture is after the new players coming in, the draft, and the older players leaving, you kind of see that the floor is starting to hit from the 60s to the 70s. So over time, the teams are going to be more evenly matched, I would say. The Giants and the Cowboys, they're inching their way up to the Patriots level. And also, as you can see in the background, are the champions to this point. So the Giants have made it to 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. And they lost the last 2 in a row, both by 2 points, which is pretty crazy. So there's the progression. Tom Brady, as far as the players go, started at the highest quarterback, 97, dropped to 91 at this point. Peyton and Tom Brady both slowly regressing, sorry. Drew Brees actually is increasing a little bit. Aaron Rodgers obviously had the most gain. And poor Brett Favre, he went from a 90 to 55, he's still hanging around. And then there's 2 rookie dudes, Ian Larson and Ronnie Dow, for the Bills and the Jets, respectively. Increased about 5 points. Pretty cool. So yeah, as you can see, the team overalls, most teams increased, very few teams decreased, because my assumption is their starting points. The 49ers really increased well, but they started off super low. Same with like the Lions. A few other teams as well. As you can see, the Vikings, they did pretty good. They had a 9-point jump there. So Packers, the team I was running, dropped a point, but they're still in the upper echelon of the teams. So now let's show you the real. This is kind of normal. What's crazy is I'm looking at these stats, so I'll take the notepad off. Excuse me, Adrian Peterson? 2,755 rush yards? What? And the year before, he had 2,400. So, again, like I said, you can mess with the coaching game plans. That has a lot to do with this. And the seasons and the leagues are set up for 1 year. And so I'm sure Adrian Peterson, as a matter of fact, let's just take a look at him here. Oh, he's an 81 overall now. You can't go back and check the overall, so maybe I should have kept tabs on him. Who is this dude? Some rookie guy. But again, the leagues are set up for one individual season, and I don't think the modders keep it in mind, or could even keep it in mind, of how these guys are going to progress. So it's up to you to kind of keep tabs on how these guys are doing. If you don't want to see crazy stats like this, make sure you go in and edit some ratings, and make sure, more importantly, edit the game plans. Because the Vikings, obviously, they have favors. They're favoring the run, definitely. So just something to keep an eye on. And the quarterback rating for Tom Brady is incredible. So just stuff to show you guys. Alright, so that's after the 5-year point. I'm going to pull that back up. So what I'm going to do is cut the video here, and then I'll see you when I hit the 10-year. We're going to do 5-year increments. Alright guys, I'm back after season 10 here. So we got 5 more Super Bowls that have been played, and we have the emergence of 2 superpowers. As you can see on your screen, Jacksonville beat Seattle 38-35 in the most recent Super Bowl. And they are the 2 best teams at this point. They even breached over 80 in Seattle's case. So they are an overall 81. Jacksonville's overall 80. They're the 2 best teams, and they're the 2 most recent teams that met in the Super Bowl, interestingly enough. And you can see the increases on the screen. And like I said, everything's starting to get closer to 70. But you do have the emergence of some teams. Let's see, Minnesota. Green Bay has been staying pretty consistent, as well as the Colts. And Carolina's gradually getting better. The Browns, I've seen them a couple of times. Patriots, they're starting to decrease. And the Giants and Cowboys finally took a step back. Interestingly, the Redskins have been a 68 overall for 10 straight years. So that's pretty cool to just kind of see this team progression. The player progression up top, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they both just recently retired. And Drew Brees is still going. He's a 68 overall. I still got Brett Favre at a 51 overall. And those two rookie dudes, the guy for the Jets, he's increased pretty well. So Buffalo's guys, he's kind of in his prime, it looks like, at the 91. And as far as the Super Bowl winners and the records, you can see the Giants, man, they are really like killing it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls out of 10 that they've made it to. And they are 3-2 on those 5. So the Patriots, they made 4. The Cowboys made 2. Green Bay hasn't sniffed it since. Actually, the Bengals have made 2. So it's going to be really interesting now at this point to see the league is transitioning. So what I'm going to do is go ahead, simulate 5 more years. I'll cut back. Actually, real quick, take a look at the records here. Didn't mean to click that button. But you can see the rushing, because AP, he's starting to get older. So it's finally, the rushing's becoming more realistic because, let's be honest, Adrian Peterson was a star. And he was rated particularly for the 2007 season. And so he progressed from that level. And nobody's going to reach that kind of pedimark at this pedestal at this point. Let's see. The QB ratings are high, but they're not like Tom Brady again, a legend. Crazy high passer ratings. So anyway, yeah, you can kind of digest that. The receiving stuff, it's all starting to become more realistic as the 07 standard. Those guys are regressed at this point, so now it's actually coming to a mean. And, alright, gonna go ahead and simulate 5 more seasons. That'll get us to the 15-year mark. Alright, guys, I'm back after 15 seasons. Actually 16 technically. Accidentally simmed this season, but, actually it's a good thing. This is gonna be a good stopping point, so I'm gonna stop here with the, future simulations because we had a really interesting result. The Dolphins, they didn't win, but they made it to the Super Bowl. For year 2022, which is this year. So I thought that'd be a cool stopping point for 2 reasons, because that's this year, and this, remember, this is starting with the 2007 league, the worst team, almost the worst team. I'll pull up the notepad so we can see the team progressions. The worst team that year in real life was the Miami Dolphins. They started with a 56 overall. They made their way all the way up to a 72. The 1-15 Dolphins, after 16 seasons, they made it to the Super Bowl. And I was wondering when the Eagles would actually start doing something. Their overall was shooting up to 78, and they did win the Super Bowl. So here's the results after 16 seasons. And pretty interesting. What stands out to me first, let's take a look at the Super Bowl winners. As it, I didn't mean to click that. Well, as it's loading here, I'm going to pull up that notepad. So the worst teams to start in the beginning were the Raiders and the Dolphins, a 55 and 56 overall. And the best teams were the Patriots at 80. That was the highest. Their only team to be in the 80s. And then the Cowboys were 76. Oh, you know what? I take that back. Actually, the Packers and the Colts started higher at 78. And so, as you can see, the lowest overall team after 16 seasons That appears to be the Atlanta Falcons. So they started at a 57. They weren't good themselves. They were Raiders, Dolphins, Falcons. They were the 3 worst. The Falcons remained the worst. They didn't progress much at all. They went from a 57 to a 66 overall team rating. The Patriots, who were the best team in the beginning, they went from an 80 down to a 73. So they're kind of middle of the pack at this point, and we'll check the standings. A couple teams were moving back and forth, and what's really interesting, so the Patriots in 07, they went 16-0. The Modders gave them an 80 overall, and that's what we can use as our basis. So let's take a look at the teams who were around 80 overalls, and there was just 2 of them, Jacksonville and Seattle. And man, could you tell they were good. Jacksonville just beat Seattle in the Super Bowl, 38-35. They played again the next 2 years. And Jacksonville won. And then Seattle won. They finally won after won the 3rd matchup. And then Cincinnati snuck in again. Cincinnati snuck in a couple different times. Lost all 3. The Lions snuck in. And you can see Seattle and Jacksonville. They just couldn't resist each other. So they played each other 4 times. Seattle and Jacksonville. And they split the series 2-2. And you can see all the league leaders here. As you notice, we didn't have nothing crazy like when AP was back in the league. So here's all the Super Bowl matchups. It's neat how you can see all that. All of Jacksonville, man. Jacksonville and Seattle became a dynasty. And the Dolphins overcame. 16 years later. Take a look at the standings here. So, a bad year for NFC North. Wow. So we'll pull up the notepad here so we can kind of see how the team ratings kind of translate it. So the Eagles, I believe they had, at this point, they had the best overall in the NFC. They won the Super Bowl, but they had a 10-6 record. Minnesota there. So you can see the NFC North. Green Bay, we were the highest overall with 75. But the Vikings win the division with a losing record. So Tampa Bay, they were working their way up, 74. Carolina had the better overall. It looked like they still made the playoffs, but Tampa Bay had the better record. And this is probably the most interesting of them. The fact that Arizona and San Francisco were considerably lower in overall to Seattle. Maybe they had an injury. I'll have to check that. So Miami and New England, they were the 2 best in their division. They were both at the same, 72 and 73, and that showed. The AFC North, very strong, 75, 74, and 72. That pretty much translated well. The Steelers overall was lower than Cleveland, but they won 2 more games. Jacksonville, they won their division, going away as they should have. And another success story, Oakland Raiders, the lowest overall team starting, and they win their division 15 years later. But let me show you this one last thing. Look who's still around. Brett Favre, 53 years old. Overall 49. His overall is lower than his age. Think about that for a second. His overall is lower than his age. There he is. It's funny to think about this. If 54-year-old Brett Favre. They used to joke about him being in the league forever because the Iron Man wouldn't miss any games. And it's funny that kind of Tom Brady's kind of playing what people used to joke about with Favre. Might have to get him in a game, throw a pass, see how he does.
Hurt on the play, injured.
Oh my god, if Brett Favre is injured on the play.